defending my support of Vivek Ramaswamy. So lately I've been on a bit of a Vivek Ramaswamy kick. Of the candidates I've looked into so far, he's the one that resonates the most with me. I've uploaded a couple of videos on Vivek Ramaswamy already. I'll link those in the description. I've gotten a fair amount of interest and comments on those videos, and in this video I'm going to respond to one of them. I'm probably going to butcher this commenter's username. It's like Simkane Keon. Hopefully that's close, but I'm more interested in the substance of his comment. So he asks rhetorically, what happened to Vivek? Only at 4%. It's got no iota of a chance. And that's a fair point. Vivek isn't doing extraordinarily well in the polls. I will caveat that by saying the majority of the professional pollsters and pundits had Hillary Clinton winning in the 2016 election, and they were towing that line of her having a 95% chance of winning the election right up to the election night when she lost. So I take everything professional pundits and pollsters say with a grain of salt. They do get things horrifically wrong at times. Also, I really don't pay attention to the polls that much because the polls aren't the election. We haven't even had the first primary elections yet, and I don't think the states start having primary elections to mid-January. So a lot can happen between now and then. He follows up with, Vivek, is just out to get popular. It's a common tactic in debate to mind read, to speculate to the internal motivations of your opponent or somebody that you disagree with. And I'm not going to say I've never done that in the past. I probably have. But really, it's not a good argument. Because A, it's not provable. You can't really read somebody else's mind. You don't know what's really motivating them. And B, it distracts from the actual substance of the debate. I'm more interested in having a dialogue about Vivek and his policies and examining them on their own merits. I'm not really interested in trying to read his mind. My suspicion is he's motivated not only by self-interest, but he actually believes some of the things he's saying. Or else, why would he be out saying them? So I like to try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and take at face value what they're telling me when they're telling me what they believe. And truly, the only way to really find out if he really believes what he's saying is to observe what happens if he gets elected. Does he actually carry through and try to implement his stated policies? So back to my commenter. No sane American will vote for a minority whose father is not even a citizen. Okay, have you ever heard of Barack Obama? I've been told that Barack Obama was a minority, and it turns out his father was British and Kenyan. I don't think his father was a U.S. citizen. And Barack Obama was elected first as a state senator, then as a U.S. senator, and then he was elected twice, winning rather handily in 2 presidential elections, serving 2 full presidential terms. So either the commentator is just wrong in this point, or he's implying that everybody who voted for Barack Obama is insane. And he's also implying that I'm insane because I've already said that I would vote for Vivek in the primary election if it was held in my state today. Again, this is a very unsophisticated type of argument. It's just an ad hominem. Anyone that doesn't agree with you is insane. That works in an echo chamber of people that already agree with you, but it doesn't convince anybody that's not in that echo chamber and that actually likes Vivek. Word to the wise, ad hominems are terrible arguments if you actually intend to try to convince somebody of something. Back to my commenter. No chance in hell he ever get to the top job. Someone need to tell him actually doesn't know it all. Fair enough, but consider the source. Before I conclude, I do want to say I do appreciate the comment. I mean, obviously I'm here picking it apart, but I do appreciate somebody taking the time to tell me what they think, even if I don't agree with it. I try to read all my comments, and if you make a good point, I try to consider it. And sometimes I even change my view in light of new information. I try to always be open to new information, and if there's information that I can verify and it contradicts what I've already decided to believe, I try to change my view on things. Because that's what I think smart people do, and I try to be a smart people. But here's why I support Vivek despite what the polls may be saying on any given day of the week. Because he's the candidate that I agree with the most. On domestic policy, I'm almost in total agreement with him. One other thing the commenter commented on is he said, to top it all, he consistently flip-flop over the top foreign policies, which I read verbatim. I don't think English is this commenter's first language, so I'm not going to pick on him for that. And to be honest, English is my first language, and I misspell things all the time and forget words, and I'm a terrible communicator when it comes to typing. So I can relate to this commenter. I'm not going to point out all the errors he made here, but is there anything to that? I'm going to say on foreign policy, well, let me set the context by saying everything in life is a trade-off, and that definitely applies to public policy. There's always pros and cons of everything you do, and this is especially true of foreign policy. A lot of times there's no good option, there's just a bunch of bad options, and you have to sit there and pick through which one is the least worst choice. And I'm no foreign policy expert, I'm not going to pontificate outside of my area of expertise. I will say Vivek, the candidate, is limited in his information when it comes to foreign policy. If and when he did get elected, he would be privy to a lot more information, and the office would come with a lot of advisors from the intelligence community and from the Defense Department. And their job is to feed the president as much information as possible so that he can navigate our foreign policy and make prudent decisions. So if and when Vivek did enter the Oval Office, he's going to be given a lot more information when it comes to foreign policy, and I would suspect that might change some of his positions. But from my observations of Vivek, seems like a very intelligent, thoughtful person. So I would trust him to make wise decisions in that regard when he's put in that spot. And in the meantime, I really don't care what the polls say, because the polls aren't the election. The only poll that really counts is the one that is taken on election day. And he's a champion of many of the things I agree with, and he's the candidate with the least amount of baggage. Certainly less so than, say, Trump. So yeah, I'm going to get behind him, and I'm going to defend his positions. I'm going to try to maintain a critical eye. If he says something I disagree with, I'm more than willing to criticize him over it. But that's my 2 cents, and that's why I'm going to continue to support Vivek. In any event, I appreciate the comment. I try to read them all, and I consider them. You've been watching the Fletch Report. If you're hearing this, it means you've made it to the end of the video. But before you click onto the next thing and continue down whatever rabbit hole you're on YouTube or Rumble, I've got a small favor to ask. If you found value in my content and you want to help the channel out, the best thing you can do is share it with somebody else that you think will find value in it. Don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. Links to the channel on YouTube and Rumble will be provided below. Additionally, I'm making a Facebook page for the channel as well as a X/formerly Twitter. Feel free to follow me on those platforms as well. If you're feeling exceptionally generous, provided in the description below will be a link to Buy Me a Coffee, which is the online equivalent of a tip jar. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the channel.